It's the 21st century, and it's time for you to break free from the old ideas, the old beliefs, the old shackles that have been holding you back and keeping you bound in misery and failure. It's time to learn the truth about your power and about what's really going on in the world. Everything that you see and experience is a reflection of what's going on inside of you. Nothing more, but nothing less. Learn the truth. Change your life. Change the planet. Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Reality Changer Radio. I'm your host Dave Dickey, and for the next 30 to 40 minutes I hope to somewhat enlighten you about your true existence and what's going on in the universe. So, you know, I always dig out and look for proof that's in your face about everything that's going on, everything I teach, everything everyone else teaches, so that you can look at it in a different light. The case that show Would You Fall for That, where they fooled all the people on the boardwalk into thinking the soda water was energy drinks and actually made everybody stronger. Okay? I'm a big hound about the belief system because as far as I'm concerned, that's the basis for all of your issues is your belief system. And so one of the things that I look for when I'm doing my research is things that I can quickly point out to all of you that you don't have to go to the library and find a book for, that is happening right in front of you and you don't know what's going on. You are taught to believe, to analyze what's going on by what you see and base your judgments on that. What I strive to do is to, say, this is it, okay. Now, why is it you're seeing it? What's really going on? What's underneath? Where's the engine under the hood? There's nice pretty pinstriping on the hood, but what's the engine look like? What's making this hood go? Okay? So, got another show. It's called Shark Tank. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of it before, but look it up. It's about I think there's six total millionaires and billionaire investors. And they're famous, and they're on the show, and people come in with their widgets and their gadgets and their inventions and their stores and all this other stuff. And the six different sharks, they'll either reject making an offer. You know, the people come in and they go, okay, I want, 50 grand for 10% of my company. So, the sharks, they have a chance to say, okay, well, give me the details of your company, blah, 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 blah. And when the people come in, they're supposed to put on a wazoo commercial style presentation, right? And what's funny, what I love about it is you see all these people that really just don't have a product or a company, or other people that they threw it all out the window and had the faith to believe in themselves and made something happen without anyone's help. I've seen people in there that are already making over $1 million a year in sales, and they're in the Shark Tank for more help because they want to gear up to $10 million a year. And these are people that did it on their own. So, and they're no different than you or me. Okay? So anyways, my point is the Shark Tank. So that's the basis of the Shark Tank. And sometimes these guys, they'll call it a shark feeding frenzy. They'll bid against each other because they want to be the investor and they don't want anybody else in. Or sometimes they'll partner. And, 2 or 3 of them will go in. One time I saw all of them go in on a deal. It was a crazy thing. So the show is really kind of cool. It makes me laugh a lot, and laughing is really good. Okay, so check it out. It's called Shark Tank, and it's every week. I'm not sure what network. So the one that I want to talk about is the one that was just a slap in the face about a belief system. Okay? There's Mark Cuban is on there, and he is the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, and he's also a billionaire investor. And everyone seems to believe him. Listen closely to the way I say it. Everyone seems to believe him in his judgment of someone who's not trustworthy or someone who is trustworthy. He seems to have an instinct for that. You know how some people just know, hey, that's a good person or that's a bad person, and they're right 99% of the time. Well, apparently Mark Cuban is. And everyone knows this. They believe it because that's their belief system. So if Mark says you're not trustworthy, everybody gets a little nervous. Okay, so now you have another player in there, and you have Kevin, I forget his last name, but he's called Mr. Wonderful. And if you watch the show, you'll notice he's a greedy white guy that's bald. And he's famous for never getting in on a deal that he can't make a ton of dough on. So how cool would it be to have him as your partner, right? He ain't never going to enter into a deal. Even if you love the deal, he will not go into it if he thinks it's not going to be a win-win for him. So now everyone believes that if he goes in on a deal, it's got to be a really good deal. And with all of these beliefs back and forth, people are short-sighting themselves and destabilizing their own belief system about themselves by thinking that these people have a better handle on whatever. And so they default to their belief, which is not really true in a sense because everybody could have the same knowledge. But this is where we're at. So everybody believes that Kevin, Mr. Wonderful, won't get in on a deal unless there's a ton of dough to be made. And they also believe that Mark Cuban can instantly spot someone who's not trustworthy. So, enter Robert Herjkovic. I forget how you say his name. He's a billionaire himself, billionaire. So he's a nice guy, but he also, when he's not sure of his territory, defaults to other sharks. So here's what happened. Guy comes in, two guys come in, and they seem kind of shady. They got one business, they don't talk about the other business, but they got the other business queued up in case somebody talks about it. So they slyly get into talking about it, and then everyone starts ragging on them and says, I want a piece of the pie for both companies. And so what happens is a couple of people go out. Mark Cuban hasn't said anything except how much he doesn't trust them. And he's made it real clear that he doesn't trust them. Okay? So instantly, like I mentioned before, everyone's uneasy. The minute he said that, everyone starts, what's going on here? So then Mr. Wonderful starts in with telling them that they don't have a business. Okay? So now all of them are questioning heavy duty. Robert says, I'll make you an offer. Okay? So he says his offer, and it's a lot. The piece of the pie is a lot bigger than they're willing to give up. And once again, Mark Cuban says something about the trust, and then he mentions something about the valuation of the companies and how it's way off. Okay, this is important. Instantly, with a worried look, Robert turns to Mark and he says, well, Mark, do you think that I'm going too high in my valuation? And without looking at Robert, he's staring at those guys and he said, yes. So Robert then up the percentage of equity he wanted in the companies for the same amount of money. So then he says, but only if Kevin, then Kevin says, I want in on that deal. And instantly Robert's like, oh yes, if you want in on the deal, because he's smelling money, because if Kevin wants it, Kevin must know there's some really good money in it, right? So here they are, and these guys really don't want to give up any of their company, it seems. So here we are with Kevin and Robert making a deal higher than Robert's original offer. Mark Cuban is just sitting there. And when they ask him if he's made up his mind yet, like they're almost out of time, like, take it or leave it, he says, I'll make you an offer. And then he makes the same offer that Robert made, the original offer that Robert made, that he talked Robert out of. And he got the deal. Now, on the surface, you would say, wow, that was a snake way of going about getting the deal. But in a metaphysical sense, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with a couple of other factors and something unknown. And I'll give you the unknown right away. The unknown is, did Mark Cuban know exactly what he was doing with the belief systems? And I mean exactly how that works. Or was he just, or there's two more, or was he just going off of the fact that these guys will do whatever I tell them, not really knowing why, if you know what I mean? And then the third one is just not being aware that it's going on at all, and it's just his nature to just do that. Okay? But do you see what's in play here? He took advantage of Robert's belief in him when he said, Robert, I think you're valuing it too high. When at that same deal is what Mark took the thing at. And Robert was and this is all Robert, because Robert has the option of not doing this. We all do, okay? But this is how it plays out, and this is why you have to look at things differently. Robert took advantage of himself by his belief system about Kevin. The minute Kevin wanted in on the deal, Robert was like, yeah, let's do this, and stay with it. And then Mark took advantage of that situation right at the last second. Threw in Robert's deal. They took it because they made a big deal about Robert's deal going up because they were too slow. So now they've worked, maybe intentionally, maybe not. Everyone worked the poor guys standing there trying to get a deal. They don't care. They want the smallest deal. They don't care from who, really, because they're all freaking geniuses on that panel. Okay, so a deal from any of them would be awesome. But understand what happened here. Mark Cuban, and I'm not saying he did anything wrong here. I'm just saying this is how it all played out. It could have been, Fred Flintstone taking advantage of Barney Rubble because of what he believes. But this is how you can be taken advantage of also. So understand how this whole thing went. I'll say it again. Mark was believed by Robert to be an expert on trust. Kevin was believed by Robert to be an expert on ROI, return on investment. So what does Robert do? Robert's living by default. Robert is a really smart guy, but it seemed to me in that situation that he acted upon Kevin's belief system and Mark's belief system, and not his own. Well, actually, he did. That is his own. You see? But he's not further advancing himself and developing the skills that he believes somebody else has and that he doesn't. I mean, that's really what's going on here. What's awesome about that show is you can see their faces, and it's like, whoa, wait, what? So Robert lost the deal through a belief system that made him dependent upon other people. Mark got the deal by manipulating other people's belief system, even if he didn't even know he was doing it. But Mark's not a dummy. He seems to be like a smart guy. Nobody did anything to intentionally hurt anybody here. I'm just telling you universally and metaphysically how the whole deal actually played out and what was involved. You see, that's what you have to understand, is what took place on a spiritual level in that instant. Unless the whole thing is scripted, and then it doesn't matter. But my belief system is, here you go, here I say it, I believe that the show is real, and that some of the people may be hoaxes, because why would they have that person on the show? And producers do that all the time. I don't know. I'm not saying they do. But I'm also not saying they don't, because I don't know. But my belief system is that these guys are actually making deals. I've gone to people's websites where it says, as seen on Shark Tank, and people make gazillions of sales after they're on Shark Tank. So you have these awesome investors who are all geniuses in a bidding war. I mean, they know it's a Shark Tank. They'll do what they have to, right? That's the motto, do what you have to. So I could see Mark doing it deliberately if he knew what he was doing, if he knew the things involved. Okay? I could see that happening, couldn't you? Because those are the rules. Do what you have to get the deal. My point is, it's another display of belief systems at work that are in your face all the time. All the time. And part of your evolution is to start looking at life differently and taking some time and having some fun with it too. You don't have to be so god-awful serious all the time. Okay? Part of this thing is to have fun and laugh and enjoy yourself and feel good, so don't get so serious. But what I'm saying is to just start, make a game out of it if you have to. Just start looking at different situations and scenarios just differently. Like, observe it and notice how you feel about it and what you think about it. And then take it and use it as an experiment and kind of look at the whole thing, the dynamics behind it, okay? And when you're looking at it then, look at it with the understanding of, all right, what did they believe? What did each person believe? Because you need at that point to also accept the fact that whatever they believed ultimately dictated their actions. So you see their actions, and you're taught to come up with a judgment based on what you see. But the truth of the matter is, behind the scenes, what made them do what they did. So it's a really good experiment to grab a scenario that you're involved on the outside, as a person looking in, innocent bystander, and then, pull that apart. What happened in that scenario? Why did he do that, or she do this, or say this, or go here? The more that you do that, two things are going to happen that are really awesome. Number one, you're going to start looking at life differently. And it's just going to become a hobby. And then it's going to become a habit. And then it's just going to be something you do. Every time you see somebody interacting with somebody else, you're going to look at it possibly both ways at the same time. And you're going to, in your own head, you're going to reference back to when you only looked at it one way. The second, and this is probably the most important, is that you are going to change quicker. You are going to evolve quicker in being able to do this by looking at life like that. The more that you look at this and the more that you have an understanding of what's going on with what you're looking at, the quicker that you can get an understanding of yourself. And that's really what the whole game is, the external pointing you back inside the internal. That's something I really want you guys to keep in mind, and don't forget that everything on the external is not there so much to experience as it is to be a mirror of what's going on inside of you. And I don't mean like, well, there's a chair inside of me. No. The situation, the experiences that you're having. The incidentals, a chair and a trash can, that doesn't mean anything. I'm talking about the experiences you're having. All of that is a representation of what's going on inside of you. And so the more that you observe others differently than you have before, and only concern yourself with what was their belief system that made them do what you just observed, the more you're going to be able to ask that about yourself. Do you understand the connection here? It's real important. You need to be able to ask yourself, well, why did I do that? And be able to come up with some kind of an answer. What we're taught is, well, I don't know, or I did everything I could, I don't know, or I did everything I could and somebody did something, or, well, it's obviously wrong, or it's obviously somebody else's fault, or blah, blah, blah. All that crap that has been shoved down your throats, and mine, I'll admit it, since little babies, okay? That's what it is. It's all crap. Okay? So the more that you observe these situations and from the observer's eye of belief systems, what could have caused that? Okay? It's kind of like a car is driving down the street and then all of a sudden runs into a wall, full on. One of your first instincts is, well, what the hell happened? And then later on, you're like, well, what could have done that? And so then you start thinking, well, did the pedal stick on the gas pedal? Did the guy have a stroke and fall on the gas pedal? A whole kinds of things. This is the tack that you need to take when you're observing a situation and trying to figure out what they were believing in that would cause them to do that. Their belief system is the gas pedal. Did it get stuck? Did somebody fall on it? Whatever. And their car wreck is whatever you're observing at the time. That's how you have to approach it. So the more you do this, the more you do it. And the more you do it, the more it changes the way you look at things. It just happens by osmosis. This is what happens. And your life starts to change and you look at things differently. And then you start to get a sense of yourself and how you're so connected with all of this and everyone and the universe. And you start to see what's really going on with everybody and why they do what they do. And that is so crucial to looking inside of you and seeing you. And why do you do what you do? Why do you do what you do? Do you know? Do you know on the surface? Or do you know deep down like 27 layers? Do you know? Do you spend a lot of time thinking about what drives other people? And I don't mean their goals, because what I'm talking about drives their goals. Have you done any of that? You need to start doing some of this stuff. The faster way to be able to help yourself change, and I always tell everybody that you're your own best shrink. You don't need shrinks, even though one of my best friends is one. And I apologize to him if he hears this. But the bottom line is, you know you better than you. Better than who? Nobody, right? So you are your own shrink. Okay? There's things that you wouldn't even tell a psychiatrist after 5 or 10 years. Okay? You know that. I know that. We all know that. We just don't like to admit it. So you're the one, and ultimately you are responsible for you. Nobody can sit around and listen to you and then be the person that's either going to heal you or not heal you or fix you or not fix you. It doesn't work that way. That's why people spend 20 years or 30 years at a psychologist's office and thousands of dollars. Okay? Because it's inside of you. You are responsible, and once you take on that responsibility, then you have to understand that no one can help you. They can guide you like I do and tell you how to help yourself, but you have to do all the work. We're just guidance counselors telling you where it's at. I'll let you know what's going on. You decide whether or not you're worth it and whether or not you're going to spend the time doing it. You know, I always ask everybody, are you happy where you're at now? Is your life 85% exactly the way you want it? And almost everybody says no. And then I ask the next question. Why aren't you worth it? Usually people say, I am worth it. Then why aren't you doing anything about it? Well, I do this, this, and this. And how's that working for you? You're still like that. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. But remember also, another cliche, how you do one thing is how you do everything. Okay? So, go out there and observe things, even in your own family, situations, the way people act. Think back to situations that you have been involved with. Okay? And then look at all of those and start pulling those apart. You don't even have to look for new ones. You've been involved in a bunch. Okay? So start in doing that. All right? Now, I want to let everybody know that in the next couple of months, in May and June, I'm going to start up some classes in Fullerton and in Anaheim at the Owl's Lantern and at the Everyday Zen Relaxation Studio. So stay tuned to my website, whatyouthink.com. Go to the events and classes link. And stay tuned for the actual dates. And also, thinking of coming up with a hypnosis class for those of you, there's a lot of you that like what I do and would love to do, or at least learn the basics. And that's all I would really teach is the basics, but it would be enough to get you started so that you get an idea of it. So that's coming up. Still working on the book. We still have a fall launch date for the book. And also the store. If you look at the blog and you look at the website, you'll notice that the daily techniques are for sale. You're going to see those kind of things more and more as we get closer to the launch of the store. And so those items will be available in the store, but I wanted to let everybody have an opportunity to get some of this stuff before we launch and not have to wait for it. Okay? So check those out. And check out the contributors down at the bottom. You'll see the ad, and then you'll see some other people that are advertising also. Check those guys out too. And check your belief system. Okay? So until next time, everybody, I want you guys to have a fabulous life and an awesome day. I love you all. Good night.